Hi, everybody. Another My Take in 10. I'm trying to be more consistent with these things because, they're really a format for me to just spend 10 minutes talking about some of the things that I'm thinking about, which are many things. So, anyway, today I've just been lately kind of pondering this dichotomy in the human experience of this tendency toward holding and clutching and wanting things to be as we want them to be and to stay as we want them to be, and these ways that we can get sort of contracted and tense around wanting things to stay or be as we want them to be rather than as they are. And so that experience contrasted with the seeming theme in this life experience of being given endless opportunities to let go, like to live in our lives in a way that where we don't create more tension for ourselves and more stress for ourselves, requires that we're able to let go endlessly. Throughout a day, there are many opportunities to do that. And so I just find it fascinating, among other things, this contrast of this propensity we have to hold with the reality of life being repeatedly and in an ongoing way about releasing and letting go. So there's that tension, right, set up within each of us, and however it is that we manage or relate to this dichotomy, right? And so I guess I just wanted to think about this out loud and talk about how I see it, or just, and I'm not saying that I have it down and like what I have to say is it. But I am pondering it because I just find it interesting that, if anything, I mean, life is about letting go in so many ways. And yet, even though that is our experience, instead of letting go and sort of living in this process of releasing and recognizing things as they are and meeting situations as they are, there is this habit of pushing against or wanting to control or wanting things to be a certain way. And what that does, I've been thinking about this. Like, why would it be important to learn how to let go? Part of it is because if we don't, and life does offer all these opportunities for letting go into the reality of what is happening rather than what we wish was happening. If we just sort of live and stay on the train of how we want things to be, how we wish they would have gone, how we wish they will be, we create more tension and stress for ourselves, right? So it does seem to be worthwhile to consider this internal tension and how to interact with it in a way that doesn't amplify our tension and stress for ourselves, and instead meets the moment and the moment as it is and the moments as they are, rather than hanging on to needing things to be a certain way, right? So we create our own tension because there's enough tension. Stressful events happen. So if we add to them our inability or unwillingness to be flexible and to say, this is as it is, so how am I going to interact with this as it is? If we don't work that muscle of flexibility, then we don't only have the tension that's sort of inherent in the situation or the stress that's inherent in the situation, but now on top of it, we've amplified it by resisting, not opening our clutching hand or opening our clutching heart, right? And so this practice or process is really about allowing and recognizing sort of the moments of life as they are. So when I think about this process of letting go and softening and releasing and meeting the experiences as they are, and I'm speaking about these opportunities that are endless, I want to just share with you what I mean by that, because this practice of letting go, I mean, we are given opportunities all the time to let go. Some are really small, but can feel large. Some are bigger, right? So, for example, like when you're in a hurry and you hit a red light or a couple of red lights, right? You could stay tense and I gotta go and the red light, right? You could do that, sure, and we do sometimes. Or you could see that as an opportunity to sit there at the red light, take a couple of breaths, like I'm going to get there when I get there, and it will be what it will be, right? So there's that. There's also, let's say you're coming home and you have this idea about what you want to eat or what you want to prepare, and you get home and an ingredient or two is not in the house, so you can't make this thing. That's an opportunity to let go. You have a conversation with someone and it doesn't quite sit right, it doesn't quite go as you wanted it to. That's an opportunity to let go. So they're endless, right? They're endless. And you can find them, I'm sure, if you just think about your own life or pay attention to it today after listening here, where those moments are, where you can, the weather isn't what you were expecting. Maybe you were going to go for a hike, or we're going to do something outside, and now the weather doesn't allow that to happen. So you can either be bummed and resist it, or you can meet the moment as it is and find another way to relate to the fact that you're not going to go on the hike, in the pouring down rain or a thunderstorm or whatever. So these opportunities are here all the time. And I think if we practice in the small moments, letting go or softening into what is happening, then it seems that when we have bigger events and bigger opportunities, that we have worked that muscle some, so that it's not this foreign practice to us, but we can lean into the practices that we've, like building that muscle over time, day to day, in the smaller ways, right? They're all over the place. And if you just open your awareness a little bit, you'll see them. They're small, they're medium, they're large, they're all over. So I find that curious, this endless sort of these endless opportunities to let go, and where life is asking us often to release into what is, contrasted with the propensity of the human experience to hold on, to clutch, to want things to be a certain way and to just stay committed to that, right? So the other thing that I wanted to just sort of reflect about is why is that, or how is it that we come to move more toward holding and less toward sort of releasing and softening? And I think it has something to do with identification. Like, if we're identified, let's see, I was thinking about this morning. If our identification is in like the ego and in the personality as who we are, then we are going to, the ego wants what it wants, right? So we're going to be more aligned with and sort of infused and enmeshed with the desires of the personality. What it is we want, what we like, what we don't like. We're going to be evaluating, this is good, this is bad. All of that stuff is going to happen because that's linked to the ego and the mind and the habits of the mind. So if that's where our identity is in ourselves as a personality, like that's who we really think we are, then yes, I think it is harder to unhook from these desires of the personality. If that's where we live and who we think we are, it's hard. It could be hard to separate that out. So if we put our identity toward sort of our consciousness, And the bigger, the broader sense of being, you might call it the soul. Some people might call it the soul, or consciousness. What else? I don't know. So that might be just that bigger awareness, that more expansive awareness that recognizes that we are, not just our personality and all the identifications of the body and the personality and the desires and all of that, but that we are more than that. That this body and this personality, they are vehicles for carrying our consciousness into the world. So, but at the deeper sense of things, the consciousness is more, this is true for me, this is how I see it. And you may relate to this on some level or maybe not on others, but the way that I'm looking at it is that if I can stay connected to the soul or the consciousness and recognize and identify that that's who I am, then all of this becomes a vehicle kind of for travel, through the world and through my life experiences. And so if that is the case, and that I remember and really experience and drop into that as my identity, like that's where I live and that's who I am, then these things that we need or want to have happen in a certain way become less important. They pale in comparison to staying connected to the more expansive self. So I think so I guess, I'm saying it's about identity. This propensity to clutch and to hold on and to need things to be a certain way is more linked to an identity with the personality or the ego, and this ability to just meet the experiences that we're having as they are, and to do our best to do that and to interact with what is actually here rather than how we wish it would be or would have been. I think there's a link between identification toward ego and personality versus identification in our consciousness or our soul reality. So, so I would say use the small experiences, if this practice interests you, that is, to just use the small experiences and the small opportunities to release the clutching, to notice, when am I holding? When do I need this to be a certain way? And because when we stay connected or just in the place of needing it to be a certain way, we're not actually interacting with what is here. And so we miss our life in the present moment because we're wrapped up in how it could be or should be. And then we're missing what actually is right in front of us. So it seems to me a worthwhile practice. So if it interests you, just use the small moments when you can. When you notice yourself resisting having to go get gas or having to, make a phone call or whatever it is, and just use those moments as gifts and opportunities to soften, to be in what is actually in front of you and what you're actually interacting with or what is actually happening than what you wish for or think should be, right? And then you can choose, is this something I have control over? Can I make a difference here? Can I not? And you can choose. If you have no control over what's happening, letting go is obviously the thing to do, right? Or you're just going to set up that tension. And if you do have some charge or some agency or there's some avenue of action, then you can choose that. And that can feel empowering, to affect change. So, okay, that's what I'm thinking about these days. So I hope it's helpful. I hope you find it interesting and useful. All right, till next time, take care.